Well, I'll go ahead and hit recording. Welcome, everyone. This is the Next Level Farms Group Q&A call, February 2nd, 2017. Andrew Argue here. And so basically, for anybody that's new this week, basically how these calls go is, at the beginning, I'll give any updates to the program, the methods and the tactics that we use. And then after that, we'll just jump right into Q&A. And so for today, I don't have any updates. And so let's just jump right into questions. So if anybody has any questions, you can either type your question in the chat, and if you're in a noisy place, then I'll read it off and I'll answer it. Or if you want to be unmuted, you just say, hey, I have a question, and I'll go ahead and get you unmuted, and we will get this thing going. So if anybody has any questions, just let me know in the chat. Yeah, Jeff is asking phone number to call in. I think you have to click on the audio section and hit phone call. Let me see if I can, I'm not sure if you can hear. Click on audio section and hit phone call. Yeah, Jennifer has a great question. She said, I had someone say something close to, I'm interested in knowing your business model. If you're not pricing hourly, how do you price? And then how do you answer that? Well, you just want to say that the way that I price is based on what you're actually going to receive. So, really it comes down to, in us working together, like how much time is this going to save you? How much money are we going to be able to make or save you? And what's it worth to you to have the burden of this problem off your back? And how much time that takes me? Yeah, if I told you I could save you $1 million right now and you gave me 200,000 and it took me 15 seconds, would you do it? Of course. So just because it took me 15 seconds, if the value is there, anybody would go for it. So how much time I have to put into something is pretty much irrelevant to what you're going to get. Yeah, some things take longer than others, and some things are more profitable for me to do than other, but just how much time I put in, I want to do it quicker. Like if I just get paid by the hour, then my incentive is to work as long on your project as I possibly can, get it to you later, But if it's just a flat fee, I'll try to get it done as quickly as possible and turn it around ASAP. So yeah, I would just say that, I basically price based on what you as the client are going to receive, not based on how long it takes me. What you're going to receive and what it's worth to you. No problem. All right, who else has questions today? Just let me know in the chat, and I will get you unmuted, and we'll get this thing started. All right, Tim has a question. You are unmuted on my side. You might have to unmute yourself as well.
Hey, how's it going, Andrew?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. So I've been, definitely having these strategy sessions. The only thing is, it's like trying to communicate, because I think I did it. I haven't had this problem where they say they understand the value, but it's like so far, the price is so far off from other accountants, 'cause other accountants are charging, we do the same thing for $150 a month, $200 a month. And I try to communicate that, you know, you're gonna, you're gonna have access to me. You're gonna get more of the consulting side of things as well, to make sure that they're in compliance at all times. To make sure that you understand your reports, not just getting the reports, but actually going over the reports, those type of things. So I try to create that value by doing that as well. And they like it, but they a lot of them's just been feeling kind of uncomfortable with, just the pricing of it.
Well, I mean, first off is if somebody says, I see the value, but it's too expensive, what they're saying is, I don't see the value. They don't understand that, but that's clearly what they're saying. So what they're saying is, when they say they see the value, what they're saying to you is, I don't want to hurt your feelings. And I think what you're doing is, and I'm going to tell you that what you're doing is valuable, but I'm certainly not going to pay for it. Which means they don't see the value. It doesn't matter what somebody says. All it matters is what they do. That's why asking for payment and giving price and everything is so powerful, because people can tell you whatever they want, but if they won't pay, then it's an objective fact that they don't see that it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they did, then they would pay. Even though, I'm definitely going to do it. It's totally worth it, but I can't even do the deposit. No, it's like they're full of it, right? Now that's not because they're a bad person or anything. It's just they just don't know how to be like a respectable person that kind of steps forward in a business relationship and does the right thing. So anyway, so what do we do here? Well, when you were explaining to me what you do, it was extremely vague. So give me an example of someone you talked to recently where this happened.
Like this guy here, he had let me kind of go back to. So he had a QBO file that he just started this year, and he's an S corporation. Husband and wife are the shareholders. He used QuickBooks to do payroll as well. Last year, he had his taxes done by just a regular tax professional, not an accountant. And last year he made about 300 to 400,000 in sales. This year he expects to make about 600 to 800,000. His wife pays the bills. He sends it out the invoices. It's a landscaping company. And I know it's a little out of my niche, but he contacted me, so and that's basically it, and so I asked him a couple of things about, I got that information from him, and then I also asked him, is he keeping up with his stock basis, is he in compliance with, keeping up with his corporate minutes and those type of things, and I asked him how much time it's taking him to send out those invoices and pay those bills. I also talked about, what is he not getting, and he said, hey, he's just basically not understanding where his numbers are every month. So he needs to, be able to get some type of report that's going to make him understand where he stands, monthly, because he currently doesn't have an accountant, so every year he was just, trying to come up with all the expenses and income on his own and spell those things out for the tax professional to bring to them at the end of the year. So those are the things that, we talk. And he was out driving, because but he was saying, like, I kept asking him, should I call back at a different time? He was like, no, this is the only time you're kind of gonna get me, so it's best to just talk now. And so we talked for about maybe 30 minutes in all, and so I kind of just went over that, and he jumped right into, after that, what is your price, that type of thing. So I did the whole thing where we offered where I offered him, say that we can get this done for you. I just said a number just to take $1,000 off. I think it was $1,500. I just said we'll take $1,000 off for the monthly recurring and make it $500 a month, because he has a very small operation. If you're thinking about $600,000 in sales he's expecting to have this year, and then the setup fee from $3,500 to $1,500, and so those are the prices I gave him. And so he's saying, like,
so what was the price? What was the price you gave him? I'm confused. What was the price for the implementation and the price for the monthly recurring?
Reoccurring $500, implementation $1,500. And he said that the other accountants that he were considering, they didn't charge no implementation fee, and then also they were going to do the monthly accounting for, 150 to $200 a month, and they were pretty much saying the same thing that I was saying, as far as, I guess, what they can do for him, and the type of things that they would be doing.
Yeah. That's because you didn't, at least when you explained it to me, there was no specific value. It was just like, I'll be able to be consulting and you'll be able, like, it was just, there was no specific reason. So is he already working with this other company or not?
No, he's not.
So he's doing it all himself.
Right.
And what's the problem right now? Why does he need somebody now? Why not just keep doing it yourself?
Well, he was basically saying that, he doesn't have the time because he's always on the road, because he's doing landscaping, and he just needs someone to be able to help him, keep the books balanced, and also to, just take care of all the AR and AP, and so that way he can just kind of free his time up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and is there a mess? I mean, is there a need for the cleanup, or is everything in good shape? He just needs someone to manage it.
Um, I didn't get a. Of course, he's on the road, so I didn't get a chance to look at the file, but I can assume that it is. I mean, because he's been doing the books himself, and he's just been taking what he's put together to the tax professional at in the end of the year for the years he's been doing business.
Mm-hmm. And his wife is doing the AP. Is she going to keep doing that? AP and the AR, you said?
Yeah, she was doing the AP, and he said he was doing the AR. So
And they're still going to both be doing that? Or they want you to do that?
they wanted someone else to do that.
So they want you to do the monthly write-up work and accounts payable and accounts receivable, and the other person said they would do that for $250 a month?
$150.
$150 a month. And the work that they were doing, like right now, their AP and their AR process, like how is it? Is it all manual, or do they use Bill.com?
The invoicing, they use, what's the name? They're not using Bill.com. For the invoicing, they're using QuickBooks, and then for the AP, she just writing checks out, getting paper bills in and writing checks out to them.
How many hours a week does his wife spend on the accounting?
He couldn't tell me. He didn't know how many hours he was spending on these things as well.
Over the course of a month, he didn't know, like, when so he does all the AR in a month,
Yes.
but he doesn't have any concept of how long it takes him?
No concept at all.
Mm-hmm. And with his clients, I mean, does he have like a couple of really big clients where it's like, oh yeah, I do this major commercial, landscaping job, and it's like 10 grand a month for this huge university or something, or 20 grand a month or 30 grand a month? Or is this like a bunch of small individual houses?
It's a bunch of small individual houses and some, like one or two commercials.
Mm-hmm. And does he have problems with collections at all? Like, does he have to follow up with people, or how does he typically get paid?
We didn't get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I mean, you might be able to get him to get paid all at the beginning, in which case there would be no AR. It's landscaping. I mean, I imagine if somebody came to do my lawn, I'd probably just pay them. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to pay when the work is done. But yeah, I mean, so that would be interesting. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the reason he would work with you, but that would be an interesting problem. If there's a lot of AR, there really could be none. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's really no way that somebody was going to do, if it's 400,000 and it's mostly small accounts, like what's the average dollar value of a client for him when he goes out and does the landscaping for an individual?
I mean, me just knowing the landscaping industry, I can imagine there's no more than $150 a month. Because he's in my area.
Gotcha. So $150 a month, that's 1,800 a year. So, 400,000 divided by 1,800 a year. Yeah. It's like 300, that's like 300 clients. So maybe it's less, probably 200, because he's got some corporates, but he's got 200 bills going out every month manually that he's got to follow up with. And then, he's got his AP. And yeah, I mean, I could see somebody, there's a lot of people out there that charge really low prices like this that'll do like $150 a month for the write-up work. But I would really be shocked if someone was literally going to come in and pay all of his bills, which are just manually done right now, it sounds like, one by one.
Right.
And then they're going to come in and they're gonna manage invoicing, which, how is he even, he's probably the guy doing the jobs, right? So if he's the guy doing the jobs, how would that person even know, based on how it's being done right now, who to invoice and for what amount, right? So how does that make any sense? And so, it just seems like, I don't know exactly, because it seems, I'm sure a lot of them are monthly recurring and they get set up or whatever. But yeah, there's totally going to be people in these kinds of situations where it doesn't make sense and they just want to pay less. And this guy, we weren't able to ask questions to figure out a problem, right? Like, how much time do you spend? Oh, I don't know. Well, the reason that he says that is because he doesn't want you to think it's a lot, because he wants you to charge less.
Mm-hmm.
What other reason could he possibly have? Like, is he that out of touch with his life that he can't think back and give a guesstimate? Are we talking like 10 hours a month? Or are we talking like you're taking an entire week, like 2 hours a week, 10 hours a month? Or are we talking like pretty much it's just so messed up you're taking an entire week out and you're spending time on it? Like, you have to drill on them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And what about your wife? Like, does she do other things in the business? How many hours does she show up at the office? Like, you have to drill down on that to figure out, because here's the thing. The reason why he doesn't want to pay more is because he just thinks it's exactly the same what you're offering and they're offering, because you just said, yeah, I'll help you with consulting and I'll give you the books and boom. And he's like, oh, well, if I can get that for $150 and 500. But the other people probably did just as little due diligence. They didn't really figure out, okay, how much time are we putting into it? Second thing is, like, what is he doing pre-tax income last year? Do we know?
He of course he didn't know anything about his tax situation last year. He said he doesn't have his tax work in front of him, so of course he was on the road. And so the only thing he could give me was, an estimate of what he did in sales.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so did he pay quarterlies?
He doesn't pay quarterlies.
Okay. And how many years in a row has he been making 400?
Didn't ask him that question.
Yeah, the thing is I want to drill down on, so it sounds like if this guy doesn't know what he made last year, then he doesn't have any accounting in place, it sounds like to me.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But I thought you said he said that he had his own accounting and he just wanted somebody to manage it.
Well, he's been doing it himself, so, but I just think it's just out of order. I can just almost imagine. I run into these type of clients all the time.
But see, you have to add, but see, it's not, see, you knowing and you imagining is different than him knowing and him understanding. Like, you have to ask the question, like, so what did you do pre-tax income last year? Oh, well, I don't know. And you can say, well, I guess is this QuickBooks file, like, are you reconciling transactions into it? Like, do you know what to pay yourself every month? How are you determining that? Like, you want him to feel embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you do that is, because right now he sold you. He's like, oh yeah, we got a QuickBooks file set up. It's running great. We got payroll set up, killing it. Yeah, my wife's involved a little bit in AP, but she's got it handled. And I do AR, but easily someone could do this for $150 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't think about what it is, because he doesn't realize that every single time he's following up with a customer, or every single time that he's trying to reverse some invoicing error that was double sent out, and every single time his wife is doing AP, and every single time he reconciles a transaction, and every single time he wants to try and pull up a monthly report that he can't pull up, like, all those little things are contributing to the thing. It doesn't sound to me like he's feeling the weight of what it actually takes to get there.
Right.
Because he kind of sold you that there's nothing wrong and that it doesn't take any time, and basically, $150 a month, which basically means this should definitely take less than 2 hours to do all of AP, all of AR, and the write-up work, right? Because that would be $75 an hour, which, I don't even think that's your rate, right? But, I would ask him, well, what rate does he charge his clients, right? And so, it's completely absurd, but he's trying to get the pricing down, probably because he doesn't have any money, because he doesn't even know what he's making. But the problem is we didn't strip him down naked. Like when somebody comes in like trying to tell you everything is good and like a peacock and all that, it's like, well, why is this guy on the phone in the first place?
Right.
Because everything is obviously not good. It's like going into the doctor and having like a gaping wound and covering it up and saying, oh yeah, everything is good, doc. Meanwhile, blood's dripping off your pants. And it's like, so it's really a silly thing. But so some people do this because they kind of understand it. Like this guy clearly is a business owner, has his own business doing landscaping, like wants to get the lowest price possible and kind of understands this process of bidding because he probably does this with his jobs too. But here's the thing you got to do with these kinds of people. You have to strip them down naked. And if you don't, like what you don't want to do, you might as well just not even pitch. You might as well just hang up if you try to pitch somebody without fully understanding the problem or what the opportunity is. And in this situation, we weren't able to clearly define it because we didn't have enough information. He says, oh, the QuickBooks file is great. Payroll is great. AR and AP, great, right? And then you need to get that and be like, but there's really nothing even here. Because if he can't answer basic questions like, how much did you make last year? It's February. Like that means he doesn't have any accounting in place.
Right.
Like he's running payroll. So how much does he pay himself on a monthly basis? And what's your profit for the year? Add those two together. That's what he made. But he doesn't know that. So he's going around telling people, and you can even say this, you can say, well, here's my thing. It's like, imagine you go out to a job in landscaping and someone's like, oh yeah, like, everything is in great shape. The grass is perfect and, we got the bushes are in place. We just need a little trim. A little trim, right? You get out there and it's a dirt lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I'm just trying to figure out where on the scale of a dirt lot to like, a palace we are, and just trying to figure out what actually needs to get done. But if you get to the end and you feel like you're just saying general things like, oh, I can help you with consulting and really consultative advice, and I can help you with like looking at the reports and I'll be there to help, it's like, that doesn't mean anything. There's no specific value. Don't even pitch, just ask for the information and get a deeper look into what's going on.
Well, in this case, it didn't have it.
He didn't have what?
Like all the information that will have gotten me to that point.
But you told me he had a QuickBooks file.
Yeah, he has a QuickBooks file, yeah. But he's on the road.
Yeah, well, you can't do it on that call. You're going to have to get it. You're going to have to do the deposit, get it, review it, get the prior year tax return, set up a follow-up call. I mean, so I think I thought I talked to you about this because I know you were at the last live event. So basically, when you go into one of these strategy sessions, the first thing is to try and diagnose the problem and the true problem in terms of time, money, and emotion when you're on that call to figure out what the value is and pitch price. But if you can't figure out the problem, and in this case, you're basically trying to tell me the guy has no problems. That's what he told you. And that it's basically $150 a month. Well, either one of two things. Well, first off, we just know that's not true. Because someone that's this big, it's not $150 a month worth of work. Especially taking over AP and AR. I mean, that's absurd. So we know he's not being honest, but he's also not allowing us to prove that to him because he won't answer basic questions like how much time do you put into some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't drill hard enough on some of the questions like how much do you pay yourself to prove he doesn't have a QuickBooks file in place. I mean, just because you signed up for QuickBooks and you imported a bank fee doesn't mean you have a QuickBooks file in place.
Right.
Like he basically doesn't. If he can't tell you, so that's why. But if he won't give in and actually start having a real conversation and opening up, then we have to get the information and look at it. And if he doesn't want to do a deposit, he doesn't want to give us the information, and he doesn't want to tell us basic facts about his situation, then yeah, we can't help him. And that's totally fine. But do you see how I'm thinking about it? It's either one, we fully diagnose and we, on that call, and we pitch price, or we say, I'm not getting enough information from this guy to pitch a price. Because you gave a price, but we don't even know what needs to get done. Like I guess at this point in time, are you going to need to do cleanup work for last year or not? I'm not even sure you know.
No.
But you pitched a price and you still don't even know what you would be doing. And he certainly doesn't know what you'd be doing. That's the problem, is that you didn't get a clear picture of what needed to get done, and you also did not display the clear picture of what needed to get done to him, because you didn't know it, because he didn't give you enough information in the first place. So we pitched him. That's why he said, oh, I see the value, but I'm not going to pay, because he didn't see anything. So there's only two ways to do it. Number one is to drill him harder on questions on the current call, and number two is to do a fully refundable $500 deposit and ask him for the QBO file and the tax return, spend some time digging into it, get on the next call, walk through the issues, and pitch your offering and price then. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think the biggest thing is just you gotta, like, we want to pitch that price and we want to do it and it's exciting and everything, but yeah. I mean, like, I've literally gone to the end of a strategy session and been like, yeah, well, I mean, look, it sounds to me like you've got everything in place, which I know is BS, but they're just trying to sell, they're trying to tell me that. I'm just like, it looks like you got everything in place. So yeah, I'm not sure, what else there is to talk about. And they're like, oh, well, what does working with you cost? And then you're like, well, I'm not sure because it doesn't sound like you have any problems to solve. That's basically what this guy was saying. Like, so yeah, the biggest thing is if you don't feel comfortable with the value, don't pitch. And there's no way you could have felt comfortable with the value because we don't even know what we would have been doing.
Right.
Do we need cleanup or is it in place? Because if you did the $1,500 a month starting, but he's saying there is no cleanup based on his words. He's saying it's totally fine. Right? At least that's what it sounds like. And then, so there is no cleanup. But then he's saying he doesn't have any information over his results financially. So I'm going in circles a little bit here, but that's the biggest thing is, number one, pitch the price if you feel comfortable. And if you don't pitch it and do a follow-up meeting and review the information. Or just go separate ways if you feel like he's being resistant. But it sounds like the guy was being, he seemed like he might have been a nice guy, but it seems like he wasn't revealing basic information.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I just think he didn't. I think he didn't know anything intricate enough about his business to really determine what's a good price and what's not. And without, like you said, giving me the time to really understand his business, and to me, it's like those are clues to me. Like if I'm asking him questions, and he said, I don't know, it's like you don't know your business, and you can't possibly be making decisions that's gonna make your business more profitable moving forward without knowing the condition that it's in currently. So I'm pretty blunt when I'm talking to people like that. And he's like, they're like, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I still think your fee is too high. It's like,
well, because they see your fee is too high because they don't feel any pain. Like, he basically told you that no cleanup needs to get done. I have no accounting problems. I have a QuickBooks file and it's all set up and ready to go. And all you have to do is just come in and do a couple of things. But even that statement that he made is not true based on the fact that he couldn't answer how much he made last year.
Exactly.
Because it's February now, and by this point he could have run a report for December, in which case he would know his results for the whole year. So the thing is, he's lying to you. So, but you can't move on from the strategy session until you figure these things out. Like, in the first part of the strategy session, you have to figure out the problem and the true cost of it. And the problem here is that this guy's spending way too much time on it, and he did the exact same thing to somebody else, and somebody else just doesn't know what they're doing. And so basically what they said is, yeah, it's $150 a month because it's just a QuickBooks file. And okay, they probably, honestly, that other person probably A, doesn't know there's cleanup, B, probably doesn't even realize that they're taking over AP and AR, and just thinks they're doing monthly write-up on a file that's in shape.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's probably what's going on. And so, and even that isn't profitable, but then they're going to put all that over it, and then they don't even have a business. But that's because the guy isn't being honest with people, which is probably because that's the way his clients treat him, and that's the way he runs his business. But that's what I would say is just don't let people snowball you like that. And if he won't answer the hours, don't move off of it and say, oh, okay, no big deal. Ask deeper.
Okay.
And just drill him on it until he folds. And they will. They always will. Because if they see that you're tenacious like that and that you won't move forward, then like if I ask somebody a question and they don't answer it, they say, oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I asked a question and he didn't answer, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to be quiet. And I might be quiet for a minute. He'd be like, "Oh, you still there?" And I'll say, "Yeah." He'll say, and then eventually he'll say, "Well, yeah, even if he doesn't know what's going on, he might say something like, 'Yeah, well, I guess what do you do?'" And I'll say, "Yeah, I'm more than happy to talk about that, but I just need to get a better understanding of how much time you guys are putting into this."
Right.
It's not appropriate for him to not answer the questions. And we don't need to be like mean about it, but it's like the doctor. It's like you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, "Do you smoke?" And then you're like, "Yeah, I'm not comfortable sharing that." "Do you have any allergies?" "Oh, I'm not comfortable sharing that," or "I really can't say one way or the other." It's like, okay, what, do you want
Hmm.
me to kill you? Like on accident? So you just can't let them run the call on you. This guy seems like he took the lead on you a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Yep, I
So,
definitely see.
yeah, so I think in the future, just don't let them tell you how it is. And like you always have to start from the position of these strategy sessions thinking, number one, the person doesn't know what they need. That's why they're on the call in the first place. And number two, then what they say isn't always what they mean
Hmm.
because they're nervous and uncomfortable. So when he says, "I see the value, but I would never pay for that," what is he really saying?
Right.
It's like a lie. And he did this all throughout the call. "Oh, I have no idea how much time I put into anything." Like his wife is maybe one thing, right? Like, but the guy's full of it because he says he has no idea how much time he puts into it. So it's almost like he's kind of having like an out of body experience, right? It's sort of like his body goes and does things for days and days, but then he just sort of sits at home. Like, I don't know what's going on, like who this is, right? And I'm being like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's like he's not being honest with you and he's saying things that aren't true. So yeah, that's the basic thing I would say is drill deeper. And if you don't feel like the value's there and you just see yourself commenting on general things that you could help with, don't do that and set up a follow-up call and try to find the real value. There's always something.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, it's helpful. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Any other questions at this point?
No, not for me.
Cool. Yeah, Laura said, did he ask the guy what he is losing about not being able to do the job because he's doing his own books? That's a great one. And that's where I was going with the hours. It's like, let's say he spends 10 hours, doing the books every month. Well, how much time does he normally bill out to the clients? Like if he were to put an hourly rate, if he were to be out there, on the sites, or if he were to be out winning new business, like how many hours does he spend a week on sales? How many new clients does he typically get? If he were to take those and put that towards job sites and billing clients or towards getting new clients, how much more could he make? Exactly. But the thing is, the guy just wouldn't say anything, and just can't let him off of it. So I think I'm gonna go back here. We got a lot of comments and questions. I think who was last? Jeff said I had some questions. Yeah, Jeff. Let me see here. Jeff, you're unmuted on my side. You might have to unmute yourself as well. How's it
Sorry.
going?
Sorry.
I can hear.
Are we here?
Yes. How's it going?
Okay. Good. How are you?
Good.
I have some general questions. I'm working through the training. I'm kind of on week 4, and I just had some questions that sort of popped up along the way that I just wanted to throw out there and get your thoughts on.
Go for it.
Strategy sessions. Do you think they're better to do them on the phone or in person?
Both work. I think it's better to do it on the phone simply because you can do a lot more over the phone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have to do 5 meetings in a week, that's basically impossible to do
Mm-hmm.
that every week consistently and run a business because you have to drive around and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But if you take 5 meetings a week for 30 to 45 minutes, I mean, you could do that. You could do twice that much, really.
Right. Right. Um, I mean, I've done general meetings before, so I'm familiar with sitting down and meeting with prospects, but I'm trying to get better at that, as far as your script, pointing out the value, which is how obviously your whole system works. So do you suggest like waiting a little while to feel comfortable with the script, or sort of just jumping right into it and learning from your mistakes and seeing how things go?
Yeah, you're definitely not going to feel comfortable, so you might as well just start. Yeah, I mean, because the thing is like, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be comfortable because it should be uncomfortable because it's new. It's like
Right.
when you ask, if you've never asked someone for payment information, it's a very nerve-wracking experience. If you've just sort of done that thing where, okay, they want to work with you, and then they say they do, and then they send you the stuff, and then you start working on it, and then you complete the work, and then once you complete the work, you send an invoice, and then 2 weeks later they pay. Going from that, and I'm not saying that's what you do, I'm just saying if someone, right, going from that to I want to get paid in full upfront before I even look at anything. That is it feels almost like imposter syndrome, and it feels almost like, is this even allowed? But it's totally just one way of doing business versus another, and so it's going to feel weird. So yeah, definitely, I would just go for it.
Okay. I mean, what I usually do when I meet with prospects is, after the meeting or after the call, I like to sort of sit back and think to myself about what services they need and how long things may take, and, try and absorb, some of the things they said, and then come up with a price. Are you saying that you're really supposed to give them a price like right at the strategy session?
There's two there, so you want to definitely try for that, because who's worth you thinking about? If you talk to somebody and you get off the call and like you're going to spend any additional thought on them, even 1 minute, you have to know that it's worth it. So the first thing is you do want to, on the first strategy session, try and properly diagnose and pitch price. And if you cannot do that, then the second thing is you want to ask for a deposit to review, QBO or the tax return, and then set up a follow-up meeting. So for example, let's say that you're like, you want to take that time and you feel like this is a really good client, but you just feel like, I don't fully know everything I need to know to be able to feel confident. I need to think about it a little bit, and I'd probably be better off thinking about it with also reviewing their QBO file and their tax return. So then you say something like, look, this has been a great call, and I really feel like this could be a great relationship for us going forward. But to be honest, for me to feel comfortable fully figuring out what you need and to give you a quote, I'm going to need to do a couple of things. I'm going to need to review the QBO file and review your prior year tax returns. And so here's what I really recommend. I mean, I think we should do two things. First one is we should set up a follow-up call for later on this week. You send me that information, I'll review it, and I'll come back, and I will, present a price then, and kind of tell you what I think. Second thing I think we should do is I am willing to invest my time into reviewing the QBO file and the tax return for free. I'm not going to charge you anything for it, even though that is going to take me some time. The only thing I ask that we do is a fully refundable $500 deposit. Now, the reason I ask for that is just because I want to make sure that we're both seriously considering this, because I'm going to invest my time reviewing your information, which I'm more than happy to put into investing into this relationship. But I just want to make sure you're also serious. And if we come back on the next meeting and you decide you don't want to go forward, no worries, no problems. I'll refund you 100%. We'll go our separate ways. But if you do decide to move forward, great, then we'll set up a kickoff call. So you have an out, but the way you do it is like, let's say you do a call for an hour and then the next hour you think about them. Well, next hour you should just thinking about someone else because they were never going to buy in the first place. How do you know who's serious and who's not? And you have to have a mechanism for determining that. And so someone that does a deposit, even though they might not become a client, they're serious. And so it's worth reviewing their tax return or their QBO file. And yeah, it's worth checking in with them again, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Okay.
But you want to get better at doing it on the first call, which definitely takes practice and time. And if you can't do it, don't stress out about it. Just go for the follow-up call.
Right. Okay. Thank you. A couple of other things. So someone, really just contacts you because this time of year, they're really just looking for tax preparation work. And they don't really think at this point that they need other services. Do you suggest it's, just kind of trying to come up with a quote just for the tax work and then sort of saying, once we finish the taxes, why don't we reconvene, afterward to discuss further about, what other services you may need. How would you handle something like that?
So people, yeah, it's funny,
Do you
right?
follow
So,
me?
oh yeah, I do, 100%. So, well, it's funny because you know why this is such a big problem is because the general public thinks that when they go to their accountant to get their tax return completed, that accountant is then organizing their life and their business to pay the bare minimum in taxes, but that's not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
What that accountant is doing is that accountant is taking what they did for last year, preparing the return, and filing with the IRS. There's a very big difference between looking at someone's life and saying, how should we organize your life to pay as little tax as possible, and just doing the tax work. So the first thing you need to do with somebody like that is you need to go through a full strategy session and figure out what do they have going on. I mean, is there anything we can do right now to save them $5, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100,000 this year that they haven't been doing in the past? Because they assume that that's part of working with you, but it's not. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh yeah, I work with this accountant, and then they're just like, they're making $500,000 a year, and they're on a Schedule C, and all they had to do was switch to an S corp, and they'd save tens of thousands of dollars. But nobody ever told them, and they're just working with somebody doing the compliance. So you owe it to that person for two reasons. One, to figure out if they can save more. And then they might not be able to. They might have just gone through a tax planning thing with a really good person, and now they're coming with you because that tax planning person doesn't do compliance, and they're good. Great. But you want to kick the tires and figure out, is there a blatantly obvious thing that I can help them with that could save them a ton this year versus what they've done in the past? And that would be tax planning. And so you might say in that situation of, oh, the guy's $500,000 on a Schedule C, all I have to do is get this guy set up on an S corp. That's going to save him, what would that be? 30 plus 20, like 50,000, let's say. Yeah, maybe 40, 50,000, something like that. I mean, could I charge $5,000 for that? I think you owe it to the person to charge them $5,000 for that. And you literally explain it like, yeah, well, maybe they were an LLC, right? You were an LLC last year. We can do a late S selection on this, and you'll be able to save literally you'll get 40. You already paid your quarterlies because you did it last year, and your guy didn't know what he was doing. So you'll get $40,000 back because we're going to do this. And all I have to do is pay me $5,000, right? So if you can figure that out, as opposed to just saying, okay, I'll just file the return. It's an LLC, done, right? Definitely, we want to think about it. And then the tax compliance work, yes, we do want to charge for that. And then at the same time, though, doing the diagnosis and the strategy session, I want to kick the tires on the rest of the business. Who's doing their monthly accounting? And also, by the way, they think they just want that. This is a problem, right? They think they just want tax compliance. That's all they need. But do they even have books in order? So, that brings up monthly accounting. First off, it brings up just cleanup for the compliance, but also it brings up how did we get to this mess in the first place? So we also want to talk about the monthly accounting and see if there's an opportunity there. The thing is, if you're really thinking about your clients and helping them, you can't just talk about tax compliance without talking about the planning and the monthly accounting. It's literally impossible because they're all intertwined. But the problem is people just kind of say, oh, I'll just prepare it like it was last year or with your current entity. I won't think about any of it. And that's all you say you want. But the reason they think that's what they want is because they don't know what else is available to them. They don't know what problems they're really in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, the public out there has no idea, what type of services they may need and what we can help them with. They just think, oh, just take these numbers, throw them on some lines, and knock out the tax return. But there's so much more, involved in helping them with their business that, there's a big gap between what they think they need and what they should be getting.
Well, and you got to remember, too, it's not about what you're doing. It's about what they're getting. So the problem is if you just do the compliance, the thing here is that if you just did the compliance here and you didn't do the tax planning, let's not even talk about the monthly accounting, but you just did that, then both of you would lose because you would be making less money and you would be doing the most work. Whereas if you charge an extra $5,000 for just submitting a late S selection, getting them filing as an S corp, then you would make way more. By the way, you make way more for just submitting a late S selection on a $5,000 engagement than you would on $2,000 where you actually have to prepare the return. And they will also save more money. So it's like at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, they're paying more, but they're making more. That's all they care about. They don't care about how much time it takes you or what you have to do. All they care about is, going to make more money. So if you can come up with an angle that they have to pay you $7,000 this year instead of $2,000, but they get to make $40,000 instead of just pay $40,000. I mean, you have to be the only reason they wouldn't take that is because they don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they think they need compliance, but you have to open that up into a larger opportunity to talk about everything and see how much money you can make them or save them.
Right. I understand. I mean, I know in your marketing you don't really discuss a firm's website much and use that much as a marketing tool or, SEO services or anything like that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to have a website, obviously, and the SEO stuff is okay. It's just a lot of it tends to be local generalist work and price-focused people, but still, some people get it set up where it works really well. So it can happen, but I don't generally recommend it because as like a starting point, SEO also takes a little bit of time. Like I want people to be able to do things that they can take control of in like a 1 to 2 week period. And they can also be getting connected with ideal clients that have the right size of business, that are in the right industries that they truly understand and want to be working with. So I'm not against it at all. I just don't focus on it. And I know that I would say most people that have worked with me, that have already started their practice have a website and have done some level of SEO on it, whether it's themselves reading blogs or hiring a consultant. I'm not against it. I just don't think it's the best thing if you want to build like the right type of practice. I think it takes like a more intentional approach of getting in touch with ideal clients than what SEO currently provides. Because it's just the way SEO works is for like a lot of small business owners out there, they don't think about it like, oh, I need the best accountant for attorneys. They don't know that. Like they're not thinking about it that way. So they're not generally searching for that. They're searching for attorney in St. Louis, And so it's typically that's what I've seen is that it just isn't as good people don't get the best clients out of it. But that being said, I'm not against it. And I think if you have it and it's generating strategy sessions, keep it. And whenever you get in touch with those people, even though they are price focused, try and turn them around just like I'm talking about here.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Cool. Any other questions at this point?
No, not right now.
Cool. All right, Greg. Let me see here. Greg says he lost audio. Let me see. I'm going to try to log back in. Everyone else is good. Yeah, that's important. One of the things I think both of these conversations we just had with Jeff and Tim is just, it's not that I don't want to trust people. Like I do give people the benefit of the doubt, but I also respect and acknowledge their lack of sophistication in this area. Like these people, they literally think that getting tax compliance means my accountant's helping me pay the bare minimum of taxes. They don't realize that most people that are doing tax compliance are not thinking about which legal entity is going to make the most sense. They're not thinking about things they could do for retirement. They're not putting their kids on a salary to pay less in taxes. Like they're not thinking about that, but they just assume that they are. And so if you can finally get that cleared up, you can charge a lot more for actually finally helping them. All right. Sonia says, how do you handle prospects that answer the email that state they want to chat, but they're very happy with their current CPA? Yeah, go take the call because that's, take the call. I mean, there are people that have a CPA for tax work that need monthly accounting. There are people that have a CPA for tax compliance but need tax planning. So just because they have an accountant, if they're interested in setting aside an hour on their calendar because of something that you said, I'd go for it. A lot of people in the program have worked with people that have another provider as well that is doing another area of value or isn't. Like there are some people that can do the compliance. Like Raquel Mack is a great example. Like she's in here today, I think too. I saw one of her questions. She'll work with people who have a CPA who's doing the compliance. She'll do the tax planning and they'll keep the CPA for the compliance. And that's great because Raquel doesn't even want to do the compliance. So yeah, just because they have someone doesn't mean there's not an opportunity. But the key is to just focus when you get on the strategy session on everything, figure out where that person's got it on lock and where they're falling short and other areas where they're falling short that that person's not paying attention to and focus on those areas. But yeah, I would take it. No problem. All right. Yeah, Jennifer said, I'm not sure I fully understand how to price in addition to the $500 per month for 500,000 sales. Can you give ideas regarding to pricing on the spot, specifically as a bookkeeper focusing on tech companies? Yes, I will give an example on that. And another example is web designer doing 3.5 million annually, AR 20,000 a month, AP no more than 10. His issue was that he can't seem to find a bookkeeper who sticks around. Every time they hire a new one, he has to train them. Estimate his current bookkeeper takes 40 hours a month. 20 invoices a month, 10 bills a month. Okay. Yeah. Did he ask? Oh, yeah. And then he estimates bookkeeper take 40 hours a month. So 3.5 million a year, web designer. And the bookkeeper's taken 40 hours a month. That's got to be, I wonder what that bookkeeper's doing. Like, what are they spending most of their time on? Is it, you said 10, let me see, 10 invoices a month, 10 bills a month. So they've got 10 invoices, 10 bills. So they must be doing big ticket web design. Huge companies. I mean, what are they doing, for 40 hours a month? Like, what is going on? There's 30 transactions. I mean, there may be some other stuff, right? But I mean, how much more could there be? So I would try to figure out what is really going on. What is the nature of, so when I'm thinking about that, I'm like, okay, so that means that if there's only 20 invoices a month, that means there's 20 clients a month. So we got a $3.5 million company divided by 20 clients. So each of the clients is paying about a $180 a year. Is that right? I mean, I could be missing the whole thing, right? It could be a lot of one-time deals or anything. Maybe huge one-time deals. But yeah, I'm curious to know what the makeup is to kind of figure out what's going on there. How are they doing the AP and the AR? They want you to obviously take that on as well. Is somebody else doing the monthly write-up work? Somebody doing the tax work? Like, what's the structure of it? But the way that you get above the $500 a month for every 500,000 in sales, I mean, right now, one other thing I want to say with this is how much are they paying that bookkeeper? 40 hours a month, how much are they paying them? And 3.5 million, I mean, if you do that calculation, that's 3,500 a month. How you get on top of that is you have to figure out, well, for this business specifically, this is, I wouldn't consider this a tech company as much as I would consider this like a consulting company. A tech company I think of as, I know you said tech in there, but tech company is like a company that's developing software. That's what I would think of. This would be more like a company that's consulting and they just happen to create websites. So with a consulting company, it's like, well, do they know which of their jobs are profitable? This would be an interesting thing to go at them with and say, are these all monthly recurring or are these project-based? And if you guys are doing, let's say, 20 clients, like how much time are you putting into each of these clients? Is it the same? And do you know how profitable you are on each of them? What if I were able to get your team to track their time and then apply that time and the relevant costs to each of these jobs and basically give you profitability by client? And you realize that, wow, we're making 3.5 million, but we've got 2 clients that are losing money. And even though our sales will go down to 2.8, if we get rid of those 2 clients, we'll make more profit. Like that could be the case. And so getting that system set up, providing basically costing reports on a monthly basis, in addition to the basic accounting, is a way that you could get the 3,500 or 3,000, whatever it ends up being, to 5 or 6. That is one example. But it's more about what are the challenges that they're running into. I mean, another one would be, it seems to me like there must be more to this bill pay process, because I don't even know that it's like 10, 20, it's not even like worth automating. It's so easy to do 10 or 20. Also, I mean, yeah, so I'm not sure there's a huge opportunity there on getting the whole bill and payments process like automated. There could be. But that is one example of how I would charge higher. than that basic services. But the only really way to go above that and have it make sense is to figure out a problem and make something more valuable. There's really only, people are like, oh, how do you increase price? How do you charge $1,000 a month even? Like $1,000 a month. It's like, I don't even think that's that much. And so $1,000 a month, how do you charge $1,000 a month? It's like, well, there's only really two ways. Number one, work with companies that are larger. They're just larger. They happen to be able to sustain a higher monthly fee. It doesn't mean there's more work, because the beautiful part about it is, like, if you look back at the history of accounting, it's pretty interesting, like how much manual labor used to go into doing the work. But now they're getting more and more automated now. So the services are becoming more and more profitable. That's why accounting is just such an awesome business right now. Like, it's more and more profitable every year when you're doing it right, because you have to do less and less work. It may not feel like that. Someone's probably like, oh, I don't feel that way, you know, and I get that. But with the technology that's come out, like if you had to do what you do now 20 years ago, it'd be a totally different business. So anyway, the technology is coming out. It makes the service, you know, easier and easier, automates things. And yeah, so, but if you want to increase the fees, it either has to be a larger company. Doesn't mean it's going to take you more time, but they just have more profits to set aside for operating expenses. And you can use automation to, sometimes people will say, oh, they have this client that's $1,500 a month, and they have a client that's $200 a month, and the one that's $200 a month takes more time. That happens all the time. Multiple people on this call probably have that experience. And the first way is larger companies, and the second way is more value. Those are really the only ways to increase the fees. And the value is not something that you want to sell them. It's something that they need based on their problems. And so I wouldn't go to them and say, oh, I could do this. I would go to them and say, so how many clients do you have right now? And are these one-time projects or are these monthly recurring? Do you currently know how profitable these are? Are there any that you feel like you just spent way too much time on and it ended up not really being worth it? How many? How do you know that? Like, oh, we put so many extra hours in, and we ended up having to absorb these big expenses we didn't have. And did you guys ever go through and look at exactly how much money you made on it? Like, no, I wouldn't even want to do that. And say, well, do you think if you would put that together, would you be able to go back to that client and ask them for more fees and say, hey, we literally lost money on this. Would you mind covering the difference for us at least? And do you feel like you should track this on an ongoing basis? Or have you thought about that? You just ask them the questions and lead them down to the problems and try to, you know, don't sell them that idea. You want them to admit to you that it's a problem and say, yeah, well, is that something you could help with? All right. Yeah, Jeff said, I think this was on the original call. Problem was that he was in a rush and caught him at a bad time. Better to schedule when you can focus in. Yeah, that's another good thing. This is for Tim. You know, when someone says they're in a car and they don't want to reschedule, don't even give them the option. You know, like just say, oh, I see you're driving right now. Look, it's going to be better for us to have this call when you're actually kind of not driving. So why don't we reschedule? And they're like, no, I can do it now. And you can say, no, I just would feel more comfortable. See, I think the biggest thing on that call, Tim, is just taking that alpha role. Don't let the guy dictate the terms. Because already at the beginning, he dictated that term, and then he just took the driver's seat, and he wouldn't crack. You need people to crack open and let you run the call. Otherwise, it's hard to do it. All right, Juliana, whenever you are ready, you can unmute yourself. Yep, you're unmuted on my side. All right, Juliana might not be on the call. I do see you're on here, but I'll go ahead and go do somebody else. So, yeah, Raquel is asking, hey, Andrew, I have a question about follow-up messages for the quick question campaign. Should we be using the same tone that is in the VSL campaign when they request a strategy session but don't book? No, a little bit different. I mean, I would say things like, so, and I think what you're talking about here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when we're following up with people who have said, yes, I want to talk, I want to do a strategy session, and then they don't, and then you respond with a couple of times, and then they don't respond because they forget or they don't see it or they're on vacation or it's over the weekend or whatever, and then you need to follow up more. Well, every time you follow up, I would give a couple of times. I'd say, hey, I know I sent that email and I never heard back. Well, how does this Thursday work? Tuesday at 2 and Thursday at 3 work? Or how does tomorrow after 4 p.m. work? Yeah, go for it. Unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
Oh, hey, I didn't realize I was unmuted. Okay, so when we spoke last week, I had mentioned that a lot of whenever a person responds to that campaign and says, "Hey, I'm interested," and I respond to them, I don't hear back from them. And what I wanted to do was just put like send them a few times that I'm available, but say, hey, if these don't work for you, here's a link to my schedule. And I think you said that we don't want to give them too many options, but I haven't been getting a lot of responses when I send my emails. So, is there anything? Are you opposed to having me put the link?
Well, hang on. Are these people that responded a long time ago, or people that recently responded and you're trying to follow up with?
Recently responded. Like someone responded today, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, I can meet on Monday or Tuesday. And so I'm like, okay, well on Monday I have availability here, and on Tuesday I have availability here. But if these times don't work for you, feel free to click on my calendar.
I would never put the calendar. I know I told you that before. You keep doing it, which is fine. But I have. No, but she just responded today. So yeah, I mean, I always give them 2 business days before I follow up.
Okay.
So like,
put the.
I wouldn't put the calendar because it just seems like they're. Did you find that people were scheduling on it?
I haven't been using it. I just wanted to start testing out the
totally
concept.
Can if you want. I just think it's a little impersonal when we're reaching out to the person. But that's my own. It could be my own mindset limitation, honestly. But that's the way I've always thought of it. So the first one is, so I say, okay, great, and I say, how does Monday? And I give specific times.
Mm-hmm.
I try to give specific times because I think, because here's the problem, right? Like by the time they reply to you tomorrow and they say, yeah, how does Monday at 2 work? And then today in the afternoon, you get somebody that books Monday at 2.
Exactly.
So that's why I like to keep it super simple where I just say, how does Monday at 3 or 5 work, or Monday at 3 or 4 work, or Tuesday at 11 or 2? And so all they have to do is just reply. They look at those specific times rather than leaving it open-ended. Like Monday or Tuesday,
So yeah, so that's what I was doing, and I wasn't getting any responses. My response rate was really low, and I assumed that maybe I'm sending them my availability, but that time doesn't work for them. And so if I just think about how I manage my email, if I read it and somebody says, okay, I can meet with you Monday at 2, and I know that I can't meet Monday at 2, I might not respond right away with my availability. But if they had a link in there, I'm like, oh, I can click the link, and I'm like, okay, I'm available at 2, at 3 o'clock. So that's just kind of how I thought about that.
Yeah, well, you can give it a go, definitely. I mean, that's the way everything works, right? Like the way you buy is the way you sell, and the way that you treat others is the way that you want people to treat you. But that's the thing, is that it doesn't always work that way, but it very well could.
Right.
So I would say go for it, put it in there. But yeah, and then just follow up every 2 business days.
Okay, so every 2. Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll see how it works. But the thing is, I did not completely prove whether the concept of following up works in my previous campaign, because I wasn't following up. I would just send the first follow-up email, but once they didn't respond, I didn't have a system for following up. So I don't really know if follow-up 1 or follow-up 2 or follow-up 3 is really effective. So I'll try including the link for now, and then I'll change it up in the next 2 weeks if I don't get good responses.
Okay. Yeah, and also it's like, follow up every 2 business days and follow up 3 times, because we try to follow up 3 times for the regular direct messaging after we connect with them on LinkedIn. We follow up 3 times, and then those are people we don't even know if they're interested. And then someone says, "Yeah, I'm interested." We definitely want to follow up with them at least 3 times.
Right. Now, okay. So as far as the tone is concerned, in in the templates that we have for the VSL, the tone is pretty like, I don't know, it's pretty salesy, I guess, where
Well,
it's
but the
like,
VSL is different, you know? It's like, because
uh-huh.
those people, yeah, it's totally different. Like this one is very, very brief. It's like, you know, hi, Sherry. I never heard back. How does Tuesday at 12 or 2 p.m. Eastern or Wednesday at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. work?
Right.
Proximity. Like it's just super vague and to the point. Like you don't want to, yeah, like you don't want to say anything. And I like saying I never heard back because it's just kind of like they feel like, oh crap, you know, because they did say they were interested and they just forgot.
Yeah.
You know? So I think I would just not even try to make it a whole email. I would just focus on the point because these are people that have already expressed they're interested. We just need to coordinate, you know.
Now, should I do the I never heard back tone for the second and third follow up?
Yeah, the third one I would do that same one from the original LinkedIn campaign where it's like I hate to be a pest, you know.
Oh, gotcha.
That's a good one. And then yeah, the second one I would make it pretty much the same.
Okay, so
I would say
essentially I'm
something
using
like,
the
"Hi
same
Sherry,
one. Okay.
you know, just following up." Well, like something literally simple like that.
Now, when we say we're following up 3 times, does that include my initial response plus 2 follow-ups or my initial response plus 3 follow-ups?
3. I would do it. It's the same as the original one. I would think is like how we send the first email. We do 3 follow-ups. So it's 4 total.
Wait. But when they respond and say, "Hey, yes, I am interested," should I say, "Okay, yeah, I'm available to meet, you know, on tomorrow at 5," and I don't hear from them? Should I follow up 2 times from that time or 3?
I would say 3. Yeah, I mean, the more the better. Like you want to give more attention.
Okay.
I mean, technically, you know, there's like these crazy stories of people following. I mean, it's like we don't need to get insane, right? But there are funny stories on the internet of people following up like 37 times, and that's how they got like Mark Cuban to invest in their business or something. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that these people are more interested. So I want to do at least the same as what I do on the people that I'm not even sure if they're interested, if not more.
Oh, gotcha. That's what you meant with 4. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. Anything else at this point?
Nope. Well, just to give you a heads up, so the email that I got from the CPA, you know, the one who has a CPA, and I'm just consulting with him with tax prep. I'm going to take your advice and just respond to her and say, you know, I don't. She asked me what questions that I had for her, and I don't really have any questions. He just kind of wanted me to vet the strategies that he's interested with his CPA, just to get her, you know, her approval or not. So what I'm going to do is I need some time to pull that together. So I haven't responded to her email yet, but I'm just going to let her know that I don't have any questions. Here are the strategies that we discussed. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, well, didn't you already give him the tax plan?
Well, I gave him the strategies, but we were in that place where we were getting ready to finalize it. So we had some follow-up meetings, and he's supposed to tell me the strategies that he wants to move forward with, and then I will send him my finalized action plan. So during that process, he was like, "Well, can you reach out to my CPA to see if she's cool with these strategies that you recommended?" And that's when I reached out to her, and she was just like, "Oh, his financial plan is his financial plan works for him," you know. So her tone was just kind of not like she wasn't happy with.
Well, she's scared of you because they think you're going to take over the work.
Right.
So yeah, I would just say, yeah. I mean, did you give him his tax plan yet or no?
I gave him the resource guide, and he has the video of our meeting together, but I have not given him the finalized action plan saying, here are all of our recommendations. We just had meetings pulling everything together, and then I will consolidate it into an actual letter.
Yeah, I would just send that to both of them and say that, hey, and if either of you want to go over this, please schedule a time on my calendar. Bam, done. And be done with it.
Got it.
And just like, don't worry about it. Like, because it's up to them. Like, if he doesn't want to implement them or they don't want to implement them for him, then all right, fine. But you've done your part, and just make sure all the documentation's there and give them the link and their option is ready.
Yeah. The only thing is it's going to take me at least a few days to pull all that together. Like when he asked me to reach out to her, I was expecting just to have a quick call so that I can run those recommendations by her and then do my follow-up. But I'm thinking that I might just need to respond to her email and say, hey, this was my initial intention. I'll go ahead and create the action plan, and you guys can let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah. Do you even, I mean, how many days till this thing's done? Like, is it like 2 weeks or is it like this week?
No,
Or
no.
early
I
next
just
week?
need to. I just need to take like an hour or two just to compile the letter. This is one of those training activities that I eventually want to outsource. So it's more so just getting it done.
Yeah, just get it done. I mean, send it tomorrow, or the guy. Just make sure the buyer knows. Like, yep, I'm gonna get in touch with her as soon as I've completed the finalization, and then we can change it if there's any questions. Or if you
Okay.
have,
Yeah.
don't even mention it to the person. They don't even know. And then, but make sure, yeah, when you finally do get in touch with her, he's copied so he knows you did your part.
Right. Okay. So I won't respond to her email. I'll just respond to him, let him know I'm working on this, and then I'll send both of them the the final action plan with the link to my calendar.
Yeah, and just be really positive about it and say, I appreciate this. I was excited working with you, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that either of you have about this process and the finalized recommendations, and any adjustments that should be made. So feel free to reach out to me by getting in touch with me on the calendar. And that way, like, you're really the mature person in this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, Greg was saying, can I repeat the bit about SEO? I was saying, yeah, I mean, like SEO there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's good. It does tend to bring local, general clients that are largely price focused and a lot of smaller gigs. Not always, but because the way that all these companies, like, unless you go out and learn your own SEO and you rank for like a certain industry, like I know people that have done that, they've ranked for their niche, but most people that help accountants with SEO are helping them rank for local tax and accounting services with generalist clients, like 95%. And so that's why, there aren't even a lot of people out there that help with, how to rank for a niche. It's very rare. Some people do it, like there are absolutely, like, but it's just most of the SEO stuff I see out there it's just not the right type of clients that people want. But if you've already got it in place, I mean, just, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I just don't think it's the best strategy to get ideal clients. I just don't like how SEO, there's so many things with SEO that are outside of your control. Now, someone who's like an SEO genius might not say that, but I just feel like it's too complicated for me. Like, I mean, even for me, like I even know about it. I've even taken some trainings on it. Like I've even paid for trainings on it. Like I know a lot about it. And even still, I just feel like it's not like something that you can control. Like all the stuff I feel like that we go over here, like there's really no way that anyone can take them away from you. It's not like Google can change its algorithm and then your website drops off the map. Like it's like that stuff doesn't really happen. It's like even if LinkedIn went away, like I still know the fundamentals of direct outreach. So it's all the same. But yeah, with SEO, and there's just so many times where, and also, by the way, people that do SEO, I mean, basically no one that I've ever talked to, and over 1,000 practice owners I've talked to in the last year, I don't think I've talked to one person that can tell me how much they're investing in SEO and exactly how many meetings they got from it. And I just don't like that. I like to know exactly what I'm getting for what I'm doing. That being said, I think it's a good thing to have if you've already got it. It's not a negative. It's just, I think as one thing that you do as part of a greater whole that you're not relying on, but is there, I think that's great. Now that may change one day. Definitely will change. Definitely could change one day. Things always change. I was telling Katie Mongelli, she was down in Miami on Tuesday, and I spent the day with her, and we were talking about that, and like what we do this year in the program, it will not be the same next year. Like the marketing stuff, landscape changes so quickly. It's like people have seen that if you've been around in the program for a while. the tools we've used have changed. And people think, oh, it's because the program's not done. It's like, well, it's not that the program's not done. It's that literally better tools have been created by the marketplace. It's that the process and the principles are all the same. It's just there are better ways to do it. And so, like, you think about how big of a part of the program LinkedIn is right now. It may be a very small part of the program next year. You never really know. Things will definitely change. But that's how I feel about SEO at the moment with the current landscape. So Eric is saying, do you have a standard fee based on revenue in terms of percentage for businesses providing services, selling retail or wholesaler? It's a great question. So here's the way I think of it, right? I think about it like this. Let's say a company's doing $1 million a year in sales and they're a service-based business, like a lawyer or an attorney or a marketing agency or an accounting practice or something like that. I know that if they're really well organized in any service-based business, they should be able to do 40% margin. It's not 100% like consultants, but it's like, that's pretty good. And so that's $400,000 that they have. That's basically pre-tax income. I would also include their owner's salary, owner payments, owner draws included in that. So it's like they may not only profit, $250, but they pay themselves $150. I consider that to be $400 margin. Why do I consider that? Because I'm not talking about accounting. I'm talking about business. I'm talking about how much money are they making on this thing, all right? So, and with that, this is a service-based business, right? This is a service-based business. That's about how much I'm thinking. And now, Eric, you're in Norway, but the principles and the percentages are going to be very similar. So for this type of company, I'm also thinking about charging $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month, okay? Now, if it's a manufacturing company, I'm going to think about it a little bit different. Manufacturing company, let's say this manufacturing company, you have to look at these individually because one company manufacturing can do 40% margins. One company manufacturing can do 10% margins. It really is going to be different. So what you have to understand here is based on how much money this business owner makes, okay? This business owner makes right here. Based on how much money they make, that is, they make 75% less than this person. So they, according to not the work that you have to do, but according to what they feel is going to be reasonable based on how much money they make, they're thinking this should cost $250 a month. And you know what? They're not all that wrong, considering how much money they make. They just have a worse business. And I mean, not saying it really is a worse business. I'm just saying, like, from a profit perspective and complexity perspective, it's worse. Okay? But I would not recommend doing that. Why? This business is actually more complicated than a service-based business. So the reality of it is your fees really need to be more like $1,500. But you have to come at it from an understanding that that they don't have a lot of money to set aside for this and that they want to pay $250 a month, but they can't. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to think about, well, what other services could I provide to get the fee up? Well, manufacturing businesses are more complex. There's inventory sometimes. There's costing. There are other complexities. There's sometimes some complex tax opportunities, that might be available for working with them. Like, is there something we can do to provide more value? And generally there is with manufacturing because there are a lot of opportunities because it is more complex. Where it's more complex, there are more problems. And so if you're going to do a full-on costing process to help them understand what their margins are, then you can get it up to $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month. But it's not that, because this is the gap between what they want to pay, not based on what they're going to get, but based on how much money they even make. Because, and then what you actually want to charge for the amount of work you have to put in. So the way I typically think about it is based on the margin in the business. And I come at it from an understanding of, okay, yeah, these people might only want to pay $250, but I certainly don't want to charge that when this is going to be even harder. So I have to get even better at defining the value, and I have to think about, are there other areas I could help in to get this fee up to $2,000 a month? That is why most people that do accounting, small business accounting, don't work with manufacturing in the US. That's also because that industry is shriveling. But yeah. So the answer is to your question, Eric, is that I would start with this. and then go to that industry, not that specific client. Because in margin, here's the thing. You might say, Andrew, well, the clients I'm working on in attorneys, they're only doing 10% margin. I don't care what they're doing, because margin is a heavily manipulated number. Because people have these ridiculous conceptions that they're just going to pile on expenses because they don't want to pay any tax. And what they don't realize is that even if you pay tax, but you just save a lot more, like at the end of the day, you'll have more money. They don't get it. They just don't want to pay tax, and so they just pile on all these expenses, and they just expand their expense pool like a sponge, and they don't make any money because yay, I'm not making any money, but I have a great life and everything, but they're not actually saving anything or building wealth. Besides the point, this is a whole other argument. I don't care what their business is actually doing in terms of margin. I just care based on the industry what they could do if they got organized and they weren't manipulating profit. That's why I say 40% on a service-based business. And you have to look at the margin based on not that specific business that's doing manufacturing, but based on that type of a product. And the way you kind of figure it out is oh, well, when they sell this product, it's 50% margin on the product, and then then the rest of that goes to cover operating expenses. Or they have 90% margin on the product, right? This is just a very, very profitable product. That's a different scenario in terms of how much profit they should be able to have. But I do not have a standard pricing for a manufacturing business because of that problem. But I want to get an understanding of what should their margin be, and I want to think about it in terms of these metrics and see what they might be thinking they want to pay, and then see if I can find more value to increase the fee. That might sound complicated, but it really is the best way to think about it, because what you have to do to come to an arrangement with someone is simultaneously understand where they're coming from, really and truly, and where they want to get to. But if you don't understand where they're coming from, and you're like, oh, that's ridiculous, this person wants to pay $250 a month, they're so cheap, I can't believe them. And it's no, it's not that. It's that they're literally just more poor. $1 million business doing manufacturing, selling widgets at 10% margin, and 10% margin, that's not really right. It's got to be more like 40 or something, because 40% margin, 10% margin on the overall business. Yes, it could be 40% margin on the products. But it's not that these people are cheap. It's just that literally they're just more poor. They just don't have it. And so we have to understand that, and we have to prove out a higher value way to work with them, or you have to turn it away, because there are going to be some manufacturing businesses where it's such a cluster, it's so messed up, and they don't have any money, and the business is not doing great, and it's a lot of complexity, and it just won't be worth your time. And it's the same principle for a wholesaler, and it's the same principle for a retailer. You have to look at their margins and what really they could be making, and start from this one. That's the way I always think about it. And I literally, when I talk, if I listen to one of these calls, I'll literally, and it's a manufacturer or a retailer or wholesaler, I'll be doing this kind of calculation to get to, okay, what would they think? This is a no-brainer price, really, in these situations. It should be a no-brainer for the work, because it's going to be that much complexity. Now, Jeff was asking, what are you doing for those services? So this is basic monthly accounting services write-up. If there is any complicated process around sales tax, complicated process or payroll, or any complicated bill pay, that's on top. Now, I will say that every once in a while, people will throw in, AR. For example, I'll give you a great example. Government contractors, one invoice, $1 million a year. I think we could do AR for them. Not a big deal. It's one invoice, right? I'm not gonna go crazy over that. But if we've got 5,000 customers on a monthly basis, we're not doing AR for this, right? So some ticky-tack things you can throw in there. But if it's anything that requires any complexity, it's got to be an additional fee. Or you can automate it and throw it in there too. If you're doing 5,000 invoices, but it's an extremely clean process, and you've got it on Bill.com, and there are no exceptions on the matching, right? Okay, fine. Maybe we actually do throw it in there, even though it's way more volume, but there's no complexity in it. But really, I'm starting with the basic services, and okay, maybe you say, well, I'll throw the payroll in. It's just one person on payroll. It would be $75 a month, but I'm just going to throw it in there, right? Okay, maybe that. But if they've got 15 employees, I'm not going to throw payroll in there. So it's the basic services, and anything else complex I'm going to put above. I mean, ticky-tack things, I'm not going to go crazy on them. And also, if I'm doing any higher level work, like if I'm doing any costing work, or if I'm doing any sort of CFO analytics, or if I'm helping them doing any sort of like preparing financials for investors or for a bank or anything like that, that's in addition. You know, there's no, this is a basic services. Yeah. Jennifer says, what would you call a niche for consultants like SAP consultants, web designers, IT consultants, tech consultants? So Jennifer, that group is really unique because they don't have like a defined group. Like tech consultants, they all call themselves different things because they're the worst at like focusing on what they do rather than the value that's provided. They're terrible at it. So they're like SAP and Oracle and PHP and Ruby on Rails, and like they talk about what they do all the time, and they never talk about like what the outcome is. But the problem, and the reason why that's a problem, is when you search for these people on LinkedIn, you have to search in like all those little communities like that. Like look for the groups, look for the SAP consultants groups, look for the web designer groups, look for the Ruby on Rails groups, and look for the owners in those groups. Because it's not like attorneys where you can just find everyone who calls himself a managing partner of a law firm. They don't say that they're a managing partner of an IT consultancy. They don't say that word. They say that they're focused around these specific type of tech. So the groups is really a great way to get in touch with those people rather than like the keyword on what they would call themselves. The keywords work too, but the groups I've found to work really well for that. Jonathan said, for some reason I'm getting a lot of responses on the second, third, or fourth emails, people asking, what are you looking to discuss, as if they didn't read the first email. Yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes. I would just take that first section of the email and just paste in one or two pieces, and like one or two pieces about the outcome, and say, hey, this is what I was reaching out about. And then I would say, whenever you do these emails, you never want to say, you want to ask a direct question that they have to respond to. So whenever you have these emails, and this is with any prospect, if you have an email and you end the email like, let me know if you want to talk. Okay, that's one thing. And you say, this is really passive, right? This is really passive way of responding to something like that. But you want to put in there, what you reach out for, which is what we already wrote. And then you want to put a very active or aggressive, tone in there, which is like, are you available tomorrow, Friday, at anywhere from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern to talk? Like that basically asks them a direct question versus like, let me know if you want to talk. Well, that's saying, hey, let me know if you want to talk. So if they don't want to talk, they don't have to let you know. Versus the direct question, are you available from this time? Now, that question doesn't even ask if they want to talk to you, right? It just asks if they're available. Now, obviously, it's sort of implied, but it just makes them, it changes their brain to think about, well, they look at the schedule and then they answer back and they say, yeah, I'm free at 2. Like they're not even thinking, do I want to or not? And it's implied when they respond and accept, but let me know if you want to talk. And then they got to respond and say, yeah, I want to talk. And then you got to respond and say this anyway. So you might as well just cut to the chase. So I would just paste back what the original value was that they skipped over and then ask them if they're available at a specific time. Yeah, Greg, you can unmute yourself whenever you're ready. And then Julian, I'll get to you next. But yeah, I still got to get to Greg's question.
Okay. I'm on if you can hear me.
Yep. How's it going?
I'm doing fine. I had some questions about niche selection. First of all, do you add new niches once you've established a niche? In other words, do you maybe hedge your bets and have more than one niche that you pursue?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, generally, I don't recommend that. Generally, I think about how could we just sell more services to that existing niche. So if you've been able to get a lot of clients in one space, you'll make more money just selling more to those clients than you will of adding another niche and being like 2 people. Like we've got one guy that came into the program in a specific niche, 4 million a year on the practice, one type of client, that's it. But they sell them a ton of different stuff. And that, yeah, like you want to figure out, once you pick one niche, you focus on it, you get pipeline, you get clients, then just think about how can I expand the dollar value per client rather than can I add another niche? And it's about depth versus width. Right? Picking multiple niches is about width. Picking one niche and selling them and increasing the ticket price is about depth. And you've already got the customers there, so you can, it's like you just upsell them other things.
That makes sense. Okay, within the niche, sometimes, for example, I was looking at the niche we talked about, and for example, there were music producers, and then there were other people that were more traditional kind of agencies, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure that all of those are equal, that maybe there's almost like a niche within the niche, or there's some of it would be a better fit for me than others. So do you try to be segmented within a particular niche to make sure that you're going to match up well with those particular clients?
Now,
Prospects?
We've been talking in your case about marketing agencies, right?
Yes.
And you were saying something about music, or what were you saying?
Well, when I did a search on the blog post for marketing consultants, is what I was looking at. Maybe that was the wrong word. I ended up with some people that were, for example, a hip hop producer who was a marketing guru in that industry, in the music industry, versus somebody who might be the more like helping some particular business niche that they were targeting with online promotion with Facebook and LinkedIn, thinking that that might be a better fit for what I was trying to do than trying to go after the hip hop producer who produces.
It's the same thing, though. It's the exact same thing, actually. It's just a different niche that he's in. Like, so their businesses are the same, because what it is that one person. In fact, the person that's doing the music thing, you never know who's bigger or smaller, but those businesses are actually the same. See, that's the beauty of picking a niche, though, because people think you're different even though you're not. Because you're looking at the music guy and you're thinking, oh, he's different. I don't know. But the reality of it is he's exactly the same business model. It's just that he's identified a target market and is focused on that. But he's doing marketing for musicians as opposed to just doing, and he's actually talking about who he works with and the results they can get rather than I do Facebook ads.
Okay, in other words, I'm overthinking this. Is what happened.
Well, I think it's interesting. Well, it's not that you're overthinking it. It's that I think you're onto it. It's just we got to think about it in a bit of a different way. When you're doing the accounting for them, it's just important to realize that they may present themselves as something different than what they are to try and seem unique. But at the end of the day, they're just a marketing consulting company. Which is really what he is. He's just focused on musicians. So they're doing the same thing. The accounting is going to be the same. Like their processes are going to be the same. Their needs are going to be the same. So it really is the same business. And I think both of those two examples are ideal clients.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, you're right in that a lot of them call themselves, some of them call them consultants, some of them call them agencies. And I would think these categories, marketing, branding, SEO, advertising, which is like Google, and Facebook, and yeah, those are the main ones. But then other ones are like general. There's other general, advertising like Yelp, and they'll do stuff like that. Also website, But when you think about this, like these are different types of businesses. But what I typically tell people to do, so this is like under the purview of marketing agencies. What I typically have people do is when you're first getting started in a niche, keep it a little bit broad. And a good example of this is like the same thing as like real estate, where it's like, okay, real estate, inside the niche of real estate is investors, property managers, developers, brokers, agents. Like these are very different businesses. But I typically tell people in the beginning to keep it more broad, talk with a few of each of these people. And as you learn more about the niche and as you learn more about it, you might just work with SEO agencies, or you might just work with people that are doing advertising, because advertising is very different than website, because sometimes these people are getting they're paying for the advertising and getting reimbursed by the clients, which creates a whole different accounting process than people that are just getting paid straight for consulting services, right? So yeah, but you wouldn't know that until you talk to each of them. So I would say within the purview of marketing agencies, reach out to all of these. And as you do a couple of strategy sessions with each, then you can start to narrow it down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay. Yeah, and then you'll see the commonalities, and then the ones where your strengths dovetail well with their particular needs, and whether you understand the lingo and you can relate to them more effectively.
Yeah, that's why when people say, "Oh, I don't want to choose one niche," I'm like, well, I mean, seriously, like even within one niche, you're not even choosing one niche. It's like you're really choosing like 10 niches within the one niche until you've really narrowed it down even further. So but even speaking these people's language is a huge advantage. But then even within here, the accounting is very different. So yeah, you want to narrow it down. Like this isn't even fully choosing a niche, but it is narrowing it down. I think this is enough. Some people end up hanging out here forever, but it is better to get even more specific when you're doing services because the accounting for these are very different than these.
Okay. Um, okay, I have a specific question about websites, but we could get into that in a private session.
Yeah, go for it if you want.
Well, I have access to a list, and I had tried an experiment with this where I offered a strategy session to independent web developers. I'm guessing from the demographics of the list that it was a pretty small, but I'm pretty sure that the sales piece that we use for this probably was not optimized for the system that you're advocating, but it was a very lengthy list. It was, almost 100,000 people, and I did not get any response to that at all. Now, these were all web developers, so I don't know whether it's because the message was so far wrong or the list may have gone a little cold, although a lot of it should have been
How did
very
you get the
active.
list?
I got it because I am connected with somebody who sells widgets into that marketplace. And so because I had a relationship with that business, they were willing to let me do that. But they did control the content to some extent. So
How much did you
have
pay for it?
it was basically a freebie. It
Yeah,
was done
see,
as a favor.
email lists. So here's the thing. Like email lists are the like one of the sketchiest things you could buy. And also you didn't even buy it. So and with an email list too, it just really follows that saying of like you get what you pay for. Because yeah, whenever if you didn't pay anything and it was 100,000 people, like it's not surprising, and it probably doesn't have anything to do with the message. It wouldn't even matter. It might matter a little, but if you had a better message, you might get some responses. But the quantity is completely irrelevant. It's all about the quality. Like you could have an email list with 4,000 people, and that could be worth $1 million. But you could have an email list with 100,000 people, and it wouldn't be worth a nickel.
Okay.
And so it's just, especially when you got it for free and we're not really sure exactly where it came from. We kind of know, but I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay. Okay. I think that answers my questions for now. I think I just need to dig back into the course and keep moving.
Cool. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Juliana Hernandez, whenever you are ready, you can unmute yourself. And yeah, Eric is saying, you're talking about remote clients. How far away do you think is optimal, or does it matter at all? Yeah, the further the better, really. No, I'm teasing. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, as long as they are accessible, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's better if they're not in your city because then there's no possibility to meet them. Which it's not that I don't want to meet clients. It's just thinking about building your business where like as effectively and as profitably for you as possible with as little work to be done for the fees. It's better if people aren't walking distance. It's better if people aren't driving distance because they just have to have a quick call. But I mean, at the end of the day, I would just take a good client no matter where they are. I don't care if they're in Uzbekistan, assuming they're real and not some sort of weird scam. Juliana, yeah, I think you're unmuted. How's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good.
Good. So a couple of things. One, finally talked to my employer about leaving and all that, and I actually was able to talk. Like, I kind of masterminded where I would talk to the president before my boss would, because he's a little controlling in that sense, and so. Anyway, I told them Tuesday, and today they told me that they would go for it. It's $3,200 a month for now. and I'm gonna be doing like a lot less, not a lot less, but less than I used to. And the stuff that I'm taking on is the stuff that I know how to do uh, in the most efficient way. So that's pretty good on that end. But so
And
with that, I guess,
do you have to go into the office anymore or no?
well, for the next two, the thing is, we have a very inconvenient audit this coming week. And so I offered to stay for the audit just to be polite. You know
Yeah,
what I
of
mean?
course, of
Because,
course.
but so after the audit, I will be working remotely for sure.
Boom! Congratulations. That's awesome. I mean, that's obviously a huge win. Yeah. I mean, whenever you're doing that, I
Yeah,
mean, it's 3,200 a month. I mean, right there, that's 36. I mean, so I mean, that's awesome.
38 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that though, the only thing with that is, so I've told you about my boss, and he's a very controlling person. And so he's like the president and the GM were all for it, because they were like, oh, it's costing me a lot less. Let's go for it. She's giving me the most important information I need, and that. He is more conservative in the sense that he's like, well, I'm worried about the dynamics of the office and this and that. And so he was like, let's just do it on a month-to-month basis for now, and then go from there. And so here's what I'm worried about with him. I'm worried about the fact that he is going to start call me nonstop, just like he would. I'm worried about his mindset per se. I'm worried that his mindset is not going from an employee to a contractor per se. So I mean, it's not a real problem yet, but it's something that might
Do you
happen.
communicate directly with him or with the owners?
I'm gonna start I usually communicate directly with him, but I'm gonna start from now on, communicating a little more with the owners to kind of set the ground. Like, I'm not your employee anymore. You know what I mean?
Just do that, and also don't answer the phone when he calls.
Okay.
Only when you guys set up a time and agree to it. And yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. In the first couple of months, it's not a big deal if it takes a little bit more time than it should. And as you continue to grow, then it's smaller and smaller it is. You just start doing less. I mean, the thing is whenever people get started and they have their first client, they tend to spend way too much time on it, but it's kind of fine. Because that, to be honest, there is an aspect of gratitude. What they're doing is awesome for you. And so it's if it's a little more annoying in the first 3 months, it's like, hey, it's really a good thing for you. And it's really cool that they were able to let you do this. And you would have been fine if you didn't have that based on where you're at, but it's good that you have it. It makes it even easier. And so it's kind of even if it is a little bit of a headache, just make sure you hold that gratitude in there with them for the first 3 months and realize that, yeah, this guy probably is a little bit jealous. I mean, he still has to show up every day for work. It's a pretty sweet gig. You get to go out and do this thing. And, that's fine, but that's the kind of person he is, which is part of the reason why you don't want to stay there and you wanted to do your own thing anyway, I'm sure. So, yeah, I mean, I just would say that it probably will be a little bit, but try to build a relationship with the owners and just be grateful and always just be grateful and happy, and don't expect don't get this kind of attitude where it's like, well, I'm a contractor now and this is a client relationship now and it must be this way. Don't get into all the formalities for the first 90 days. Just be gracious and grateful and do what it takes to get the results. And in 90 days, you won't even care if you lost it anyway.
Right. Okay. Cool.
You wouldn't have cared if you lost it now, but so in 90 days especially, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I have 2 other deals going on right now, and I've gotten some other deposits to look at over files and stuff like that I'm working through, but these other 2 deals are major. I told you about the $60,000 year guy that is retiring and wants to go to Florida and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, he wants to meet. We were going to meet this week, but then he's got people from India in town or something, and so he's meeting with them on the whole sale of his company and all. And so we're meeting next week. But basically, what he wants me to do is manage his money from now on, buy into a couple of companies that will I guess invest into the money, rentals, that type of stuff. So I think, his net, like the meeting in person, I think is for him to kind of quiz me a little bit and see, if it makes sense for us to work together in that sense. Like, I don't know what his intention really is for this meeting, but I don't know if you have any like suggestions on me, like how I should approach this meeting or whatever.
Yeah, well, just keep the focus on him, not on you. Like the way you prove your value isn't by telling him stuff about your knowledge. Like
Yeah.
that's like the worst thing to do, is because then people start questioning it. The focus is to just drill down on them. So yeah, we want to figure out, when is the timeline of the sale? How much money is he going to get from it post-tax? How much does he need to live on an annual basis? Like you need to just basically, as if you were starting the relationship, start going through all the questions. Okay, so you're going to get, I think he's going to sell for what, 24 million?
Yeah.
Okay, post-tax, what's he going to end up with? Okay, we got this. Now, what do you need to live with your current lifestyle on a monthly basis? How are you going to increase lifestyle or change lifestyle once you go through this? How much are you setting aside to do investment deals? What type of deals do you already have in the pipeline? Like, just shower him with questions and give him a taste of how dedicated and involved and thought-provoking you're going to be if you were to work with him. And just get him freaking excited about the future of his life and working with you. And then it's all about just, okay, what are the next steps? Rather than, oh, I think you should invest your money this, that, and the other. Don't even try that, because you don't even know, right? We got to focus on him and what he wants and be there as a vehicle to help him get there, because you don't know much about this. This would be a different thing for you. So
Right.
you can't have, when you're in these meetings, no matter, this is one example, but this goes for anybody in here. You have to keep the spotlight on the prospect. They should hardly think about you the entire time. And if they start asking questions about you and thinking about you, then briefly answer and take the spotlight right back on them, because yeah, when they start thinking too much about you, it just always falls apart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I would say, is even though he wants to do it to learn more about you, what he really wants to do is to learn more about, how does this relationship going to go? And am I going to enjoy working with her? And does she see my vision, and can she facilitate it? And so,
Right.
yeah, just keep the focus on him. I think you'll do great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And the other deal is, I told you I had a meeting on Wednesday about with the he makes like 32 million a year, and he has like a construction company here in Baton Rouge. I met with him and his like accounting person yesterday, and come to find out, I mean, I thought they only wanted like tax planning, because that's what it sounded like more in the strategy session, and like job costing and all that. But come to find out, the girl is saying like the current provider, what they're unhappy with them is the tax side. Like they're not letting them like deduct their hunting camp, which is only used for clients and client meetings, and they're not letting them deduct that for some odd, strange reason. So that's the kind of stuff that they're unhappy with. But that current provider provides everything else too, like the payroll, 401k distributions, AP, all this and that, and they provide them with a quarterly report of their financials and that type of stuff. So the woman ended up saying like, look, here's the thing, like if we end up going with you for like tax planning, and then they have to tax prepare it, they're not going to go for that, and then they're not going to go. So basically what she was saying was, either do it all or don't do anything. And I obviously said I can do it all. So,
Yeah, just do it. I mean, that is a lot. I would try to figure out what they're charging, but it's got to be like, I mean, it could be 10 grand a month or more.
Yeah. So that's like what I'm thinking too. So what I decided to do, because after a lot of talking, they were trying to like evaluate if I would fit, I guess. And I what I basically told them was, look, let me look into, because they have like several companies, like 6 companies that intertwine within each other. They have do froms, intercompany accounts, all that stuff, which doesn't scare me, because I deal with that right now with the advocate. So that's not like a scary part, but I do need to wrap my head around it so that I can tell them, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing every month, and this is how much is going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
one thing I would say is, here's one thing I'll say for you, big picture, is like, you want to, like, I think you should definitely pursue these deals, and I think you should try to get them as big as possible. I mean, yeah, so you've got the 3 right now. The one is looking like 5, the other's looking like 8 to 10, maybe more even. I mean, look, that's a lot, and that's very quickly to get up there. And but what I will say is that in the long run, you do want to, like, these are all custom jobs, which is fine, which is totally fine. When you're in the beginning, like, you want to take whatever you can get, but I think once you get, if you get one or two, even if you get one or two of these, either one of those two with the current one that you have and the other deals that you already have in the pipeline, then you need to start to really get intentional about, like, specifically how you want to work with people, because and what services, because otherwise you're just going to end up with 4 to 6 custom clients that are all a big percentage of your income. And if you, it's going to be hard for you to go out and grow into a business much larger than that. It's going to be hard for you to build a team because it's so related to you and everything. But in the beginning, I would just try and sell as much as you can. So yeah, I mean, go for it and do whatever it takes to succeed. And if you're at 15, 20,000 a month in the next 3 months, and then you need to, like, restructure everything in 6 months because it's, like, doesn't make sense for you, I think that's a good problem to have. So I think just sell in as many of these things as you can, even though they're custom in the beginning, and then restructure it later. Because I don't think this is what you'll probably end up doing in the long run, but I think for right now, it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. And with them, I just got a $1,000 retainer or deposit, whatever you want to call it, to look at all the stuff, and then we're gonna go from there, and, like, so that I can actually get an idea of what it's gonna take and how much it's gonna be. You know
So how many strategy sessions have you been doing a week?
Oh my Lord, like a crazy amount, like at least 5, like you said, but sometimes it's been like 10.
And are these coming from your network or from LinkedIn or both?
Both.
Where are most of them coming from?
LinkedIn.
Yeah. So these big ones, Candy's asking that too. So these two bigger ones, the one that's the 5,000 a month and the 8 to 10,000 a month, that's LinkedIn?
Yep, LinkedIn.
And what about the other deposits that you already have on deposit?
LinkedIn. Some of them, like a couple are, here's the thing. I told you I reached out to, like, my network at the beginning, like to those 5 or 6, and then I at the same time I started with LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And LinkedIn started being so, like, good that I didn't have time to meet with the network, like, any more people in the network anymore. So really, out of my whole, like, entire list that I told you about, I've only met with like 6 of them.
Gotcha.
So,
and you have like 50 or something, I remember. Yeah, so you basically got, so how many of these deals have you closed, and how many do you have on deposit?
I've closed on 2 deals, like, as far as, like, taxes goes.
Gotcha.
Not any recurring besides my current employer, which is a pretty good deal. And the deposits are, some of them are with tax. They're not many. Like, maybe I have, like, maybe 3 or 4 deposits. They're mostly taxes. One of them is I also. So he wants taxes right now, but he wants the monthly after that. So I'm not pricing him on monthly yet. He's just like, let me get these taxes done, and then we can talk about the monthly thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you're crushing it. Look, just do not. The one thing I'll say is this is all perfect, and just keep doing that. I mean, you do 5+ strategy sessions a week. You've been doing this about a month, right? I think we started first week of Jan. You keep doing that for 3 months. I mean, you can already see the damage right now, but just give it a few more weeks of this stuff. So just make sure every single Sunday you're walking in and you've got the strategy sessions on the calendar. Keep with the LinkedIn thing, and then and even though I can even hear it in your voice a little bit, and I know you've been messaging me on Facebook, and it feels a little bit like drowning, but it's a good thing. Just do not lose the LinkedIn thing. And if you walk into a week with no strategy sessions, use the network thing. But just hold on to it, like, because you've got a really good momentum going. You've got 2 clients, 4 deposits, and these really good stuff in the pipeline, and just do more.
Cool. Perfect. I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? I like how Candy put her name in today as Candy and Baby Sophia. That's awesome. Any other questions for today? I'm happy to answer one more. before we start to wrap this thing up? Yeah, Greg said that was exciting to hear. Yeah, look, I mean, when you're doing LinkedIn, and I think there's a couple of good examples in here. I mean, Tim was a good example of this. Like, and this goes, Greg, when you were asking earlier about niche. When you think about LinkedIn, one of the reasons that Juliana's succeeding with it is because she's reaching out to people in a niche. And so she's reaching out to one specific type of person. She's got a custom message, based on that niche with specific services mentioned to help that niche and a profile for that niche. The problem is where people, like I remember with Tim, he was having some challenges getting strategy sessions. It's because it's whenever we have multiple niches we're going after and multiple messages we're doing, and we're not even mentioning services that are specific to helping them or the way that those services could specifically help them. And our niche mentions multiple profiles. Like when you say that you're focused on one type of person, it just, not everybody will respond. I mean, the strong majority, probably 90-95% of the people that she's reaching out to don't even respond. But the ones that do, you'll get them. You will get people to respond when you're specific and focused. So, yeah. Whenever you're not getting, you got to ask yourself, why am I not getting, if you're not getting the meetings that you want or you're not getting the clients that you want, is it because I'm not getting the meetings? Or is it because I'm not closing? And if I'm not getting the meetings, why am I not getting the meetings? Is my messaging crap? Am I not reaching out to enough people? It's I call it accounting for sales. You have to be ruthless with yourself and look at the numbers. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't see any other questions coming in. So yeah, I will go ahead and wrap this call up, and I will post the recording in the group. And next week we will be back to the normal Q&A call times, Tuesday at 5 and Thursday at noon Eastern. And if anybody has any questions in the meantime, Facebook group is the best place to go, or you can ping me on Facebook, shoot me an email. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and I will talk to you all soon.